CW.
Live, local, breaking news. You're watching News Channel 3, live at 10 on CW7.
A South Haven worker says after a customer complaint, she was told she's not allowed to wear a face mask with the letters BLM on it. Those letters are in reference to the Black Lives Matter movement. Now the company involved is defending its actions. News Channel 3's Genevieve Grippo reports about how this scenario is playing out in West Michigan and in other companies across the country.
Tamika Sullivan works at the Meijer in South Haven. She says she was told not to wear a face mask that reads BLM because it makes a political statement. But Sullivan says that's not the case at all. This is the mask Tamika Sullivan says she wore to her job at Meijer before being asked to remove it. The letters BLM are in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And what was also your reaction when they told you you couldn't wear your mask?
Well, I started crying, actually. I started crying and I broke down because I really felt like my rights was getting taken away from me.
She says it became an issue only after a customer complained, her boss telling her political statements are not allowed at work. But Sullivan says BLM is not a partisan issue.
And they told me it can't be political, but it's not political. It's 3 letters, you know. And because one customer complained, I've been wearing it for a week.
The U.S. Office of Special Counsel agrees. In an opinion published last week, the agency calls BLM a social movement. It says federal employees are allowed to wear BLM items under the Hatch Act. Workers at other companies are experiencing similar reactions. In June, Starbucks told employees Black Lives Matter attire violated the brand's dress code. After widespread criticism, the company reversed its stance. At Carrabba's Italian Grill in Portage,
you're telling us we can't do it inside of your building because you're worried about your money.
Management also told employees BLM gear was not allowed. The company later made an exception for BLM pins. As workers and companies continue to navigate the controversy, Sullivan says she's not sure what will happen next.
If it continues to be an issue, then I'm not going to continue to work there.
We reached out to Meijer for a comment on Sullivan's story. A spokesperson says, quote, Meijer has specific guidelines for team member uniforms, which include face coverings. We provide all our team members with face masks, and if they choose to wear their own mask, they need to adhere to our guidelines for neutrality. Reporting in the newsroom, Genevieve Grippo, News Channel 3.
All right, thanks, Genevieve. Well, right now we have a poll up on Twitter asking if you consider Black Lives Matter to be a political statement. So far, 44.3% say they do, 55.7% say they don't. And you can weigh in. Just go to WWMT News Channel 3 Twitter page to place your vote. We're now hearing from the Grand Rapids Police Chief after 4 violent incidents happened overnight. They include 2 shootings that left 1 person dead, a stabbing involving 2 people, and reports of a weapon fired. Police Chief Eric Payne says the community needs to work together for change, saying, quote, this week's gun violence should trouble every person who lives and works in Grand Rapids. I will continue working with our community on increased efforts to do whatever we can to get at the root causes of this violence. But we need to do this together, end quote. Meanwhile, police in Kalamazoo are investigating 3 separate shootings that happened early this morning. The first happened around midnight. Kalamazoo police say a man checked himself into the ER with a gunshot wound. The 19-year-old told police it happened near Patterson Street and Douglas Avenue. Police say he was riding in a car when he heard gunshots, then realized he had been hit. Hours later, around 2:40 this morning, officers responded to the 1800 block of South Burdick Street. Police say there they found gun casings on the ground and bullet holes in a house. People were inside at the time of the shooting, and a few minutes later, police say they found a vehicle with 4 people inside driving on Stadium Drive. Officers arrested 3 of the people for CCW and shooting into an occupied home. Police say they're still looking for the 4th person. Then, just after 5 this morning, a 15-year-old was shot on the 1100 block of Douglas Avenue. The boy told officers he was walking when someone drove by and shot him. He's being treated for 9 life-threatening injuries. Deputies in Grand Traverse County are looking for a missing 15-year-old. Police say they believe Anna Mae Taylor is with Brandon Reyes. Officials say there's evidence he may have assaulted her. They were last seen early this morning in Garfield Township. Police say they believe they're in a silver 2006 Chrysler with a license plate saying B-Rays. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Grand Traverse Central Dispatch. All right, here's a live look over downtown Kalamazoo through a Peregrine Tower camera, just in time to catch a little bit of that beautiful sunset. Meteorologist Will Haney joins us now live. Will, West Michigan is finally seeing a little bit of a cool down.
Yeah, Callie, that's exactly right. And, after a busy day in the weather department between the storms earlier in the day and then the high wave action, those waves finally starting to calm down a little bit there in South Haven and Lake Michigan, treating us to a gorgeous post-sunset glow right now. As we look on clouds and radar, most of us starting to see clearing, and any clouds that are still out there, mostly high-based. There's still some storms pushing through parts of southern Illinois and southern Indiana right now. That's all associated with a front that's going to move through our area overnight and into tomorrow morning. Not going to do it too much in the temperature department. Right now we're situated still in those lower to mid 70s, and it still does feel pretty humid for several locations, but overnight tonight we will fall to about 65. You're going to notice a drop in the humidity, so we go from a high of 83 today with those storms and all that humidity to a high of 84 tomorrow, sunny and much less humid. We're talking about some of the rainfall totals we had from today, some of which are pretty impressive. I'll also talk about our next shot of some rain, Callie, in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Will. Well, the Allegheny County Clerk says the county is reprinting and resending ballots to voters. That's because the longtime Cheshire Township Clerk, Pete Hetzel, passed away. Michigan law states if a candidate on the ballot dies and leaves a political party with representation, that party can choose a new candidate to step in. Allegheny County Clerk Bob Janetsky says this is a rare occurrence and wants to clear up any confusion voters may have. He says not all Allegheny County voters will get a new ballot in the mail, only those that live in Cheshire Township. The reprint does not impact in-person voting on Election Day on August 4th. The updated ballots will be there for voters. Janetsky says his office sent out 198 absentee ballots to township voters and says they got back 68 so far. Everyone in the township that requested an absentee ballot will get a new one, but he says not everyone has to fill out another ballot for their vote to count.
For those people who in fact have sent in a ballot already marked, and maybe they left for Europe or they're in the UP or something, or they just don't want to take the time to fill in another ballot, their ballot will count, except for that race where they voted for the clerk who passed away.
Janetsky says his team is mailing out those new ballots first thing Monday morning. The Allegheny County Elections Division paid for the new ballots, and Cheshire Township covered the envelopes and postage. Kalamazoo election officials say they've received more absentee ballots than ever before for an August election. The city clerk says he's not sure if that's due to the pandemic, no reason absentee, or a higher interest in this election. Michigan election officials are encouraging voters to vote by mail due to the COVID-19 pandemic. They say it's the safest way to vote while protecting your health. They also say the process is secure and it's accurate. Voters can request an absentee ballot from their local clerk's office or at the Michigan Voter Information Center online. The state of Michigan issued almost 1.7 million absentee ballots for the upcoming election. So far, they've got back more than 300,000, which is more than double the amount compared to same time in 2016. Kalamazoo City Clerk Scott Borling says they've issued almost 10,500 absentee ballots and says more than 3,200 have been returned with still a few weeks left before Election Day.
Because we have no reason absentee for the first time now in some larger elections like the ones we have this year, and then we have the pandemic. It's difficult to pinpoint what's driving the higher absentee.
The deadline is tomorrow to register to vote for the upcoming August election online, or Michiganders can register to vote on Election Day at their local clerk's office. President Trump is on offense tonight following an interview that aired earlier today with Chris Wallace. The president continued to defend his response to COVID-19 and his order that schools reopen in the fall. Christine Frizzau has more on what some say is missing from Washington.
President Trump. In an interview on Fox News Sunday, President Trump described the recent spikes in coronavirus cases as burning embers and defended his response, even getting into a tense exchange with host Chris Wallace.
We had 900 deaths on a single day.
We will take a look.
This week, Ready?
You can check it out.
Could you please get me the mortality rate?
Yeah.
Kaylee's right here. I heard we had one of the lowest, maybe the lowest mortality rate anywhere in the world.
Despite those papers, the president provided no evidence to support that. And also in the interview defended multiple statements he'd made in the past about COVID-19, like that 15 cases would go down to 0.
I think we're going to be very good with the coronavirus. I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear, I hope. I'll be right eventually. I will be right eventually. You know, I said it's going to disappear.
President Trump also once again threatened to pull federal money from schools that don't reopen in the fall, which amounts to about 8% of funding. But each day, district by district, many are making the difficult decision to delay.
A remote start will help our community, our city, and our state keep cases from spiking and overwhelming our health facilities.
The release of guidelines from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on opening schools supposed to be released this week, now delayed to later in the month. Just one area critics say is lacking in the federal response.
The fact that we have no definitive plan to decrease the spread of the virus is very concerning, to say the least.
Others point to the shortages in testing and delays in testing results this many months in.
It averages around the country, it's about 3 days, but in some places it's as long as a week. And that really undercuts the value of the testing, because you do the testing to find out who's carrying the virus and then quickly get them isolated so they don't spread it around.
Complicated challenges from the top down as the president defends his role, speculating the economy and the country will bounce back. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
A debate is going on right now over a big Supreme Court decision. Why a ruling on unions could have a big impact for cities and states.
For CW7.
Welcome back to News Channel 3 Live at 10 on the CW7. I'm Callie Rainey. Thanks for joining us. A debate is going on after Supreme Court decision on unions. The court ruled that public employees can't be forced to join or pay labor unions. Full Measure's Cheryl Atkinson explains the impact of that ruling.
Gary Matos works for the state of Maryland prison system. One day you open up your paycheck and see what?
A union due fee. Even though I'm not in the union, I've never been to union meetings, I've never signed union papers, never expressed that I wanted to join a union, and there it was, union due.
It was money the state of Maryland was taking without his permission and sending to the local union that he'd never joined.
I realized that the state of Maryland had given the AFSCME Council 3 the right to basically tax us, steal from us. I feel like it was stolen from me.
Today, Matos is taking the lead in a recently announced class action suit. It demands the union return money taken from paychecks of non-union members before the Supreme Court's Janus decision.
The unions were pushing back on a lot of this. They did not want their monopoly to go away that they have, collecting all these millions of dollars from people.
Mark Janus is the name and the face behind the famous Supreme Court decision. He was working for the state of Illinois in 2015 when he mounted his union challenge.
We're finding that if people want to resign from a union, once they've heard about the case and they realize they don't have to be a member, the unions are not allowing them out. They're saying, well, you only have a 2-week window, let's say 2 weeks out of 52, that you can resign and get out.
But for all of those who don't want to join or pay a union, others see things differently.
You know, when the Janus decision came out, it overturned 40 years of precedent.
Congressman Matthew Cartwright is on the other side. He represents a Pennsylvania district with a strong union history. He says the Janus decision is part of an organized attack on labor unions.
There are a lot of people who say, I didn't like my money being spent on a union whose views I don't agree with, who contribute to certain political candidates and do things with the money that I don't agree with.
Do you buy that, or do you say that that's just pretext for wanting to clamp down on union rights overall? I happen to see it as the latter. It hurts unions' ability to engage in negotiation and collective bargaining by cutting down on the money that they get.
Congressman Cartwright has introduced a bill to protect unions and expand membership. He has almost 200 co-sponsors for his proposal, including 2 Republicans. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
Things starting to cool off a little bit here in West Michigan. We're right now in the lower to mid 70s. Still a little bit muggy out there. I actually squeezed around a disc golf in between the shows. It was a lovely evening. Right now, 74 degrees right now in South Haven. It is so spectacular. What a view right now. And it was a really gorgeous sunset. Before we get to that, this was sent in by Heather, not Heath. I apologize for that, in Comstock. And these were some cool storm clouds off in the distance. Laura and Pleasant Lake and Delton captured this shot, though, just a little bit ago, probably about an hour of the sunset there from Pleasant Lake and Delton. Gorgeous shot. Temperature-wise, again, right now, lower to mid-70s is the story. And storm reports from earlier on, just briefly want to mention this, places like Muskegon County up towards the Holland area, too, and Ottawa County, Kent County. There were some gusts between about 40 and 50 miles per hour reported. A little bit farther south, the storms in Berrien and Van Buren County initially, as they pushed out of Chicago, had some gusts a little bit over 50 miles per hour. There was also a storm in Battle Creek that had a 64 mile per hour wind gust, which is above severe grade, reported at the airport. So those storms, while not too widespread in terms of any sort of damage in some locations, we did see some tree limbs down and things like that. Rainfall totals from those storms, a few locations over an inch, particularly the Grand Rapids area. But as we look here, places in northeastern Allegan County, southern Kent County, and Barry County seem to be kind of a hotbed for some heavier totals. One of the higher ones, Martin, for example, 2-inch rain today. Here is your hour by hour, though. We'll continue to clear out overnight tonight, and with the clear skies and wind dying down, we should fall to about 64, 65 degrees overnight. And then by lunchtime tomorrow, we're right at 80 with plenty of sunshine, and we won't warm up too much more than that. We top off tomorrow with highs in the lower to mid 80s. And the big change is not only our air temperature not nearly as hot as it was just yesterday, but the dew point also falls quite a bit, and we stay in a little bit more of a, I guess you could say, more comfortable range for that dew point in the next couple days. Despite the drop in temperatures, we're just closer to our average high, which is right around 83. We'll stay dry tomorrow and sunny, but then Tuesday, specifically Tuesday late in the day and Wednesday, that's when our next chance of rain arrives. This is Tuesday at 4:15. Notice, again, another day in those lower to mid 80s. We'll see sunshine on Tuesday, but then late in the day, that's when those shower chances return, and some rumbles of thunder are certainly possible overnight and into early Wednesday morning. But by Wednesday afternoon, this system, because it's farther to our north, I think will already start to be drying out. Right now in Kalamazoo, it's 74 degrees, west wind, right around 6 miles per hour. The wind's starting to die down, and so are those waves out at Lake Michigan. It was an active day there. 65 degrees overnight tonight. Comfortably cooler west-northwest winds at, like I said, 5 to 10. 84 on the way tomorrow with that lower humidity air. Looking forward to that. Your Maple Auto Group 7-day forecast: showers late in the day Tuesday, some scattered showers, and even some rumbles of thunder, especially in the morning hours on Wednesday. A break on Thursday before another system moves in heading into the next weekend. That's going to warm us up, Callie. Also brings some additional chances for rain, but it's kind of hard to nail down exactly which day has the most likely time frame to see that. We'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks, Will. I think Monday looks pretty good. Thank you. Well, life-changing call for one family. How a TikTok contest will improve the life of one very special little girl.
And at 11.
You've probably heard of TikTok. Tonight, a family in Battle Creek says that social media app is bringing them hope.
She's a fighter. She's amazing. She pushes through with a smile on her face. She's the happiest kid I've ever met in my entire life.
9-year-old Emery was born with CMV. Her mom says she's outlived the doctor's expectations. She's wheelchair-bound, and she's grown out of her car seat. So her mom entered a contest on TikTok with a police officer in North Carolina, raising money to buy a special needs family a vehicle. This Battle Creek family was one of 2 winners.
This is going to dramatically increase her quality of life. She has not been able to comfortably leave the house or go visit family or go to the zoo in probably 3 years.
Her mom says the vehicle will make it easier for Emery to make memories and do things she otherwise wouldn't be able to do. Well, every year, Hospice Care of Southwest Michigan does a butterfly release in memory of loved ones. This year's release is going to be different. That's because it's being held virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Participants won't be releasing butterflies this year. Instead, they'll be receiving glass butterflies in the mail. Then staff will release real butterflies in memory of their loved ones. The event planner says having the event virtually allows people the opportunity to still come together.
It was so important to keep this event going, to find a way to make it work, because grief is so strong and grief doesn't stop for the coronavirus.
Hospice Care of Southwest Michigan says it will share the video this Friday of staff releasing the real butterflies. While the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo is being postponed, the Summer Games for the Special Olympics Michigan is underway right now. This year's event is being done virtually for the first time ever. It gives athletes a chance to train and compete during the pandemic. Athletes can choose between 20 different sporting events they can do from home. Then they submit their scores to see how they compare to other athletes from around Michigan. Special Olympics Michigan will also be hosting special events throughout the week on their social media pages. Film fans in Paris now have a unique way to enjoy movies during this pandemic. This weekend, moviegoers were able to enjoy a film on a river. Pretty cool.
I'm super excited. It's a really unique opportunity. I've never seen anything like this in Paris, so super excited.
People there boarded 38 electric boats for the free showing. Each boat can seat up to 6 people who know each other. While theaters are open in France, the occupancy levels remain very low. Organizers say they want to hold similar showings throughout the summer.
Very cool. You know, we've had some outdoor movie showings around West Michigan, but nothing like that. It might be kind of a cool thing to do out at the lake or something like that. Maple Auto Group 7-day forecast. Sunshine tomorrow, 84. Nowhere near as humid as we've been the last couple of days. Showers return late in the day Tuesday. Some storms Wednesday, mostly in the morning. And then I think, are mostly dry to end the work week.
Hey, I like the idea of some showings on the lake. We'll have to ponder that. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at 11:52 on News Channel 3.